faculty members, and dear students, a very good afternoon to all of you. I welcome you to day 2 of orientation program. On 21st January, we had first phase of orientation where Professor Shubha Ghosh from Syracuse University and Mr. Ramji Srinivasan, senior advocate, enlightened the students with their vast knowledge and experience. So let's begin today's program. We're very pleased to have with us Dr. Alka Chawla, who would be telling you about teaching methodology at Campus Law Center. Dr. Alka Chawla has PhD in copyright law from University of Delhi. She teaches at Campus Law Center. She has figured in the top 100 powerful women in law list released by the World IP Forum in 2017. Ma'am is nominated as the National Expert on Intellectual Property by European Trade and Business Council. She is recipient of the Teacher of the Year Award Female 2018 given by the Indian National Bar Association. Dr. Chawla has authored 2 books on copyright and written a number of articles and research papers in reputed journals. She has delivered lectures at various prestigious national and international institutes and universities. Ma'am, may I please request you to kindly deliver your address?
Thank you, Dr. Sneh. Very gracious of you to give such a nice introduction of me. Thank you so much. Okay, good morning, batch of 2020 to 2023, if I'm right, though 21 has begun. You are very, I would say that we are very unfortunate that we can't see all of you, but still, this pandemic has taught us many good and the bad things. Welcome you all to Campus Law Center family. It's a great institution which has produced, I think, innumerable eminent judges, visionary legislators, very, very efficient bureaucrats and erudite academicians. You are going to enter a very, very noble profession which has the responsibility of making the justice system not only accessible, but deliverable to all the countrymen. You are entering CLC in the tough times of pandemic, as I said before, and you will pass out in the penultimate year of the centenary celebrations of law faculty. So with this, I think in such situation, when you enter, there would be many questions and apprehensions in your mind, hovering around you and trying to think, why should we begin with teaching methodology on the day of orientation? Is studying and learning of law, something different from other subjects? Well, I think the answer is yes, because CLC teaching will give a very, very unique experience, which you have not had before, either in your graduation or your post-graduation. The question is, how is then law studied? How is it different? I think the best answer that I can give is with common sense in abundance. You have to have common sense. Something which you're going to miss for some time is, I feel law faculty, especially Campus Law Center, is like mini India, where you will have people from all walks of life, all religions, all status, and all kinds of backgrounds. So when you have this kind of a holistic picture and holistic friends, understanding law becomes very easy. In fact, many times people say that Campus Law Center produces best litigators, and you're having best litigators because of this very fact. I think how you should begin teaching and learning is both, two sides of the same coin. So how we teach and how you learn, I'm going to take it as synonyms and then talk about it. I think the first thing that you should do is, you should from this very moment, start thinking, how many laws do you come in contact with every day? The moment you open your eyes and you use words like air, water, telephone, telegraph, cyber, you utter a word and there is a law for it, right? So whether, so you can see that from morning till evening till, the moment you sleep, you will find that all laws, every walks of life, you'll find there is some law or the other. You're on the road, there is traffic law. You switch on the light, there is, trademarks, there's copyright, there's electricity. You go to the toilet, there's sanitation. You wear something, there's textile. For everything, there is law which is present. So are you worried? How are we going to study all this? No, no, no. Don't get worried. We are not going to teach you all these laws. What we are going to basically do is teach you the technique of reading law through certain subjects. So you will have around 30 subjects in 3 years, where some are compulsory, some are optional. And in every subject, you will find the teacher is basically equipping you through some cases and through some acts how to read any law that comes in your, in front of you as a problem. So the first thing that you need to know is what are the various things, or what are the various tools that you require to study law. I think the first tool is words. Words are the tools of the lawyer. And by words, I mean, you should be able to, interpret, try to look at words in different contexts. Say, for example, the very first class, the teacher comes and tells you, I love you. What is the teacher trying to say? Have discipline, be in order, be well read, read all the cases, and whatever we ask you to do. It is not that platonic or any kind of love that we are talking about. It's the love of a teacher and a student. If the mother says that to you, if the father says that to you, if a friend says that to you, so you see, a simple word can be interpreted in so many ways. So the first tool that you need to know is various perspectives to a particular problem. Be open-minded. When you're open-minded, you can think, you can analyze, you can criticize, you can understand different people. So, but yes, now coming to the formal structure, because all this should be happening around you, and you should always be open to various perspectives. It is very commonly said, law is a jealous mistress. And I'm not making sexist much here, but I'm just trying to tell you that, since centuries, we've been hearing this law is a jealous mistress, which means that she needs undisturbed attention from all of you. But that doesn't mean that you leave out fun for watching movies or going for parties, because everything is going to make you learn the concept of law. All right, what else you need? When you come to law faculty, the first thing that you should do is open the website of the law faculty, and you will find reading material given there. We call reading material as the case material. Now, it is called case material because for most of these subjects, cases are provided to you. And through cases, the teachers are going to teach you the law. The question is, what is law? From what different fields, or, from where are we going to read it? The first thing is, as I said, law faculty has produced legislators. We need to know the acts made, enacted by the parliament or the state legislature. Where is the act available? What does the act say? How to read an act? All teachers, all subject teachers will teach you that. And slowly you will find that any act, if you pick up, you don't need a teacher. You just need experience to learn about it. So you need the acts or the legislation dealing with a particular subject. You need the cases which are decided under that particular act. If you go to the library, you will find there are annual digests which are present. So the annual digest will give you classification of subjects. Any subject that you need, you will have a list of cases there. And from that list, from the bare minimum that digest gives, you can go to the actual case. Is my connection gone? Because it says your internet connection is unstable. Am I audible?
Ma'am, you're audible, but your video is a little pausing a bit. Now it's fine.
Can I just change? Should I move on to another internet connection if there's a problem? Because, okay, if it's okay, then it's fine. All right. So you look at the legislations, as I was saying, then you look at the cases. With experience, you will know how to read a case. But since you're all going to start with your classes very soon, before the teachers come and tell you, all the subject teachers, I think you should be well prepared in the sense that you should see Just pick up any judgment, that is what is referred to as a case here, and you find out it will be divided into, you will not find headings on the case like this, but by experience, you will be able to see how a case is divided into facts, what are the questions that are involved there, what is the act that is, to be read under which a problem arises, what are the precedent, that means what are the cases which have been initially there before this particular case, which have talked about this topic, so you will have to read them, and then what is the judge saying in this particular case. Why cases are very important for all of us is because, as we say, there are, three sources of law. One is what we refer to as the act, that is the legislation of the parliament. Secondly, the precedent, that is the cases given by the judges. And the third is the custom. So we must look at all these things. And I think what is important for all of you is that when you come to class, you must read the case and then come to class. If your teacher has asked you or given readings, please read it and then come. You will find that when you read and come to class, you will actually follow the teaching methodology of Campus Law Center, which I said is very unique. Because we follow lecture method where teachers are giving you a lecture. We follow case study method, and case study method means through cases we are going to teach you. We follow interactive and collaborative method. Interactive and collaborative method means that unless and until you interact with your batchmates, with your classmates, and with the teacher, interaction with respect to the readings that we are talking about, the discussion you will not be able to understand if you've not read the case. And teaching law today is not very simple. It's becoming more and more complex because more and more new problems are coming up. Like, for example, even for us, we had never thought that we would be talking to a screen and I do not know who all are sitting in front of me. When people are there, you can look at their gestures, you can look at their behavior, you can look at their understanding, how they're taking you. It's very, very easy. You become passionate about the subject. But if in pandemic we lose the passion of ours, we will not be delivering goods to you. So we've learned how to speak in front of the screen. So there are different, problems coming up with technology, with new socioeconomic problems. So for keeping all these in mind, unless and until you keep your mind open, it will be difficult to understand. That is why I said that teaching has become slightly complex today. I think going to the library is very important. You will have, I'm sure the professor in charge is going to have a seminar for you, how to access library of Campus Law Center, sitting in your own homes, because you're all going to get your official email IDs. So you will be having books, what we refer to as acts, cases, books. There are journals which are present, and there are periodicals which are there, which every weekly, monthly, or yearly they are coming up. There is online data available. Like, for example, you must know these terms. You have Manupatra, you've got SEC online. So I think before you watch, I don't have much of a time. Only 5-10 minutes were given to me. But what I can tell you is, before you come on the fun side and on the serious side, watch a few movies and then come and join college. Watch movies like Andha Kanun. It's an old movie. It will tell you the doctrine of double jeopardy. If a person has already been tried and convicted for a particular case, can he be done again? You have section 375, Akshay Khanna's movie, watch, on rape, different perspectives to be given. I'm sure you've all seen Jolly LLB 1 and 2. Comedy part aside, you will find that how it talks about the concept of negligence, the concept of adversarial system, where lawyers are presented for a judge, and what power the judge has. As you may find that he's a joker sitting on the dais, but suddenly when he uses his power, you will understand how he delivers the justice to you, how evidence can be created and how evidence can be removed. But if you work hard, if you investigate properly, if you have justice as the ultimate goal, you will be, working towards feeling or getting how honesty basically is. And I would just end by again saying, please remember, law is a jealous mistress. Law is like an ocean which you cannot swim through. Law is very, very interesting. It's fun, very satisfying. And once you enter it, you will never feel like leaving it. Thank you so much. So with these words, we welcome you and we hope that you will keep on carrying the baton of light that Campus Law Center is known for. And we will see you sometimes becoming the Supreme Court judges and the ministers and the Prime Minister. And then I and all the other my colleagues will say, look, that is my student. Please give us that opportunity. Thank you so much. God bless you all.
Thank you, Alka ma'am, for sharing your views with the students today. Dr. Gunjan Gupta teaches at the Campus Law Center. She has a LLM and PhD from Faculty of Law, University of Delhi. Her doctoral research is on law relating to dishonor of checks. Ma'am has a number of research papers to her credit in the journals of national repute and has participated in many national and international seminars and conferences. She has authored several books like Dishonor of Checks, published by LexisNexis Publications, and the Commentary on Protection of Women and Domestic Violence Act by Vinod Nijwan's publication, which have been the largest selling books on the topic in India. We request Dr. Gunjan Gupta to address the students on the career prospects in law.
Thank you, Rubina. Thanks a lot for introducing me. Respected Professor Alka Chawla, distinguished faculty members, and dear students, a very good afternoon. At the outset, I would like to congratulate the students for securing admission in Campus Law Center, which for the generations have contributed a lot towards promoting excellence in legal education and research, and has played a very important role in nurturing the new generation of lawyers in accordance with today's societal needs. Indeed, it's a matter of great privilege for me to share my insight on career prospects in law. Believe me, no profession is more honorable than the law. Today, the legal career is not the last option, as it was 20 years ago. Today, the brilliant minds and young graduates choose this field as their first priority and a remarkable mark in the society. The feeling of wearing a black coat brings a sense of pride, along with being a financially lucrative career. It's a rich and rewarding experience. From writers to politicians, the profession of law has donned many hats. Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and Abraham Lincoln were all famous lawyers. And this magic circle of lawyers will not be complete without mentioning the names of Mr. Ram Jethmalani, Mr. K.K. Venugopal, Mr. Gopal Subramaniam, and Mr. Altaf Ahmed, and a couple of other senior lawyers of the Apex Court. In fact, the legal profession in India has undergone a strategic and substantial change over the last few decades. These days, the law aspirants not only figure themselves in courts, but mark the presence in various corporate houses, law agencies, law firms, litigation, administrative services, and many more. There are a plethora of job opportunities for law graduates in India. In fact, there is a dearth of lawyers when demand is considered. The Bar Council of India has always stated that there is a scarcity of efficient and young lawyers. Every organization, be it private or public sector, requires a law in some form. With the changing dynamics of the world, almost every person seeks a lawyer's help in their lifetime for minor to major reasons. So, there are abundant opportunities for an efficient and ever-evolving lawyer. If one is academically motivated, could also join a reputed legal publishing house or go into teaching, research, or join politics. After all, every top politician of the country is a lawyer. Now, with the boom in law firms, enrollment of law graduates has seen a new high. These firms throng at the law schools to pick up the best brains through campus recruitment. In fact, banks, PSUs also look for erudite and brilliant law recruits to equip their legal departments, take care of drafting, negotiating, and vetting contracts. The fledgling private law schools and the fresh national law schools have produced a massive demand for professors in these institutions. Judiciary, legal journalism, international organizations, NGOs, centers for policy making and legal research, and government departments are other domains for law students to explore interesting opportunities. However, it's a profession that demands passion, dedication, and hard work. And once you're ready to do so, it will surely return you a promising future. So, with these words, I welcome you all and wish you all the very best for your future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your views. Now, moving on, we have the various committee presentations. The first committee going to present is the Anti-Ragging Committee presentation by the convener, Dr. Rahul Kumar.
Good morning to everyone. Respected Professor Raman Mittal sir, our professor in charge, respected Professor Alka ma'am, and respected Gunjan ma'am, and my dear colleagues. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir,
Yeah.
you're audible.
Okay. So, and my dear students, welcome to the Campus Law Center. The Anti-Ragging Committee on behalf of Campus Law Center welcomes you all. Dear friends, there is a quote in Sanskrit that is Dharmo Vishwasya Jagatah Pratishtha. That means entire universe is sustained by law. And since you have Campus Law Center, a world of law, so welcome to the legal world. And to start with, the very first thing, that is Anti-Ragging Committee. We used to have the two affidavits, one on behalf of parents and another on behalf of the students. You would have seen while taking admissions, or your seniors have seen it. It is a necessary document, but the importance of that document is to restrict not only you, to save you and restrict your seniors, and another day you would become senior. So to prohibit these things, to prohibit ragging, these two affidavits we used to have. And anti-ragging committee is very much focused on zero tolerance to ragging. If you are subjected to ragging, please do inform us. If you become senior and if you are involved or if you are found involved in ragging, we would not tolerate. So with regard to it, few things few rules and regulations are there, which we should be aware, because ragging is a very degrading kind of work in any educational institution. Ragging has been derived from the word rag, which means to apply a kind of paint on any surface. So if a newcomer comes to college and we apply something dirty on that, it appears it's not good. Government has banned it since 1970s, the decades of late 1970s, and thereafter in 1999, at the direction of Honorable Supreme Court of India, a committee was formed in the chairpersonship of Professor KPS Uni, who studied the positive and negative impacts of ragging. And he came to conclusion that the negative side of ragging is very much prevalent rather than positive side. Again, in 2006, Raghavan Committee was constituted on the direction of Supreme Court of India, and it stated that in educational institutions, particularly higher educational institutions, it is a kind of, it corrodes the vitals of our educational institutions. So what in fact ragging is, that is, the justification of ragging, I tell you that seniors or anyone may justify it that it's kind of familiarization or an initiation into the real world to the college going students. But since you are coming from a college, you are already a graduate or postgraduate, or you may be a PhD or in any profession. So need here is to say that, please, if you see any kind of practice, first thing that is ragging is prohibited on your part. Ragging is, if you are subjected to ragging, please report to the committee. Another thing that is, proctorial board is also here. Please, ma'am, please go to the poster. Ma'am or sir, please go to the poster of the proctorial board. Please move. Yeah. So what ragging, as per the University Statute Ordinance 15C, the definition is as per our Ordinance 15C of Delhi University, that is mental, physical, sexual abuse, verbal abuse, indecent behavior, criminal intimidation or wrongful restraint, undermining human dignity, financial exploitation or extortion, or use of force. So if anything in any format, direct or indirect, is found, there are below, you would see the helpline numbers. One may contact the control room, University of Delhi, or UGC Anti-Ragging Committee, which is 24/7 toll-free helpline. One may connect or contact at these places. Ma'am, please move to next slide. So as per the Proctorial Office of Delhi University, if any single incident is found on ragging, there are contact numbers, contact details. Few contact details are there, or one may drop written complaint in the complaint box of your college or premise or CLC campus, or one may contact to the proctorial office also. Moreover, for details, one may connect to the, please move to the next slide. One may connect to the given link, that is with regard to anti-ragging guidelines of University of Delhi and sorry, and to the UGC guidelines also. And again, I say that if any unwelcome incident happens to you with regard to ragging, please do contact us, and along with the proctorial board, one may approach to the proctorial board. So it was with regard to few things with regard to ragging, and not going into detail since we are on online mode. So one of my colleague yesterday or day before yesterday, I was talking about she has stated that there may be chances of online ragging also. Like if somebody says something or indecent or something in online version or telephone or while joining class or doing something on class or interrupting class in any method or mode by seniors, etc. So here two things are there. One, if seniors are disturbing you, one way of online ragging, or if you disturb the class or classroom in online mode by thinking that nobody can do anything because it's online. So you are disturbing entire class and it's a disciplinary matter. And disciplinary actions may be taken for unauthorized disturbance into online, even in online classes. So मैं डरा नहीं रहा हूं आप लोगों को, but these are few precautions because everyone has dignity. Your respected teachers are there, your colleagues or classmates are there. So please do good and be good to everyone. And with these words, I welcome you all to the Campus Law Center. On behalf of our professor in charge, Professor Raman Mittal sir, Dr. Haleen Kaur ma'am, and all the colleagues, being a small part of anti-ragging committee, I welcome you all. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I would now request Dr. Anumeha Mishra, member of the Debate and Discussion Society, to inform the students the details of this committee.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I welcome all of you to Campus Law Center. Now, because of the change in the pedagogy of how we are meeting, obviously we are not able to have full physical interaction and orientation of Debate and Discussion Society. But what I'll do today is briefly apprise you of what Debate and Discussion Society at the Campus Law Center stands for, and what are the different events that we engage in to foster the debating and discussing culture at our institute. Now, at the core, the Debate and Discussion Society provides basically a platform for free exchange of ideas. And the objective of the society is to promote conversations and foster an environment where disagreements are debated upon and dissent is engaged with. And therefore, with this objective, we hold several events wherein the society, in sync with its objective, tries to trigger conversations on important issues, promote critical thinking, and create a culture where we agree to disagree. I will briefly take all of you through the different events that we hold in Debate and Discussion Society. Now, the first important event that happens under through the society is an event called Confero, which has been happening for several years now. It's a national level debate competition wherein participants from across India participate. And we have been very successful in organizing and at least ensuring that participants from different institutes in India come and participate in this event. This is an annual event, and this happens once a year. Now, the second event that we hold is, and this is a specifically intra-institute event, which is called the CLC Opinion Project. Now, the objective of the CLC Opinion Project is to provide a platform for the students of CLC to engage in debate and basically to promote debating culture. Generally, the topics of CLC Opinion Project are contemporary issues, which may be social issues or legal issues, and generally care is taken to, or at least an attempt is made to ensure that the topics are some of the burning topics of the contemporary time. The CLC Opinion Project has been extremely successful at CLC because the beauty of this project is that it is not just the society members who are a part of this entire event, but rather Campus Law Center as a whole becomes a part of the event. So either you become a part of the event as a participant or as an audience. And this event ensures that the participation of both the participants and the audience is equally present. Apart from CLC Opinion Project, what we also have is an initiative, again taken by the Debate and Discussion Society, called the CLC Town Hall. Now, as you would notice, the name of the society is Debate and Discussion. So, and the idea is to promote not just debating culture, but also discussions. Now, the discussions happen in several manner, and one of the initiatives that has been taken by a DDS Society is an event called CLC Town Hall, which hosts panel discussion on various socio-legal issues, contemporary issues, controversial issues, which are some of the burning topics of the day. And an attempt is made by the society to invite panelists from different viewpoints, different walks of life, so that we can have a wholesome, comprehensive perspective and can also engage in different narratives and conversation surrounding that specific issue. We have had the privilege of holding several. We have had the privilege of holding several panel discussions on some of the important issues like National Register of Citizens. Apart from CLC Town Hall, again, another attempt or events that we hold is the lecture series. Now, apart from the important landmark events that we just talked about, like Confero, CLC Opinion Project, CLC Town Hall, intermittently we try to hold lectures, either by which may be in the form of individual lectures or in the form of panel discussions as well, wherein important issues are touched upon, and they happen intermittently across the semester. And this gives an opportunity to the students to interact and engage with luminaries from the respective field on which the lecture is being held. The Debate and Discussion Society at CLC has also decided in the last semester to branch out into something called starting a journal of its own, called the CLC Student Law Review. Now, and this project is still in pipeline, and all the first year students who have just joined CLC, those who are interested in becoming a part of the Debate and Discussion Society, would be able to participate in this project at its very inception. Now, the CLC Student Law Review is supposed to be a student-centric law review, where students are encouraged to contribute in the law review, and as well as to be a part of the editorial board of the law review. So the proposed idea of this law review is that students will be not only will be a part of the editorial board, but would also contribute. And the idea is to allow students the opportunity to learn research methodology and the art of writing, and art of debating and discussing, not just verbally, but also through written mode. And hopefully we will see many of you become a part of this law review. In order to become a part of the Debate and Discussion Society, generally what is done is the first years, at least for the first year students, a screening process is held. So in due time, we are going to come up with a notification, which you all can check on the CLC website, wherein we will be asking for applicants to apply to become a part of the Debate and Discussion Society. Now, I will just briefly let you know the administrative structure of DDS. So there is a core group of faculty members who are a part of the DDS. Presently, the faculty convener of DDS is Dr. Seema Singh, and apart from Dr. Seema Singh, Dr. Sujit, Dr. Aarti, and Mr. Akash, along with me, we are the part of the Debate and Discussion Society Teacher Executive Committee. The next committee is Debate and DDS Student Executive Committee, which comprises of second and third year students. And the third committee, intra-committee that is a part of DDS, is DDS Student Working Committee, which comprises of first year student. Now, the idea behind this structure is so that the students of second and third year are gradually able to train the first years with regard to the functioning and working of DDS, and subsequently they can take over as they as they move to the second and third year and continue the legacy of DDS. At the core, DDS is a student-structured and a student-focused and a student-led body. The faculty members are merely there for supervision. So it is a complete student body, and all your opinions, thoughts, initiatives, ideas are very welcome. And if you want to create, or if you want to bring some new changes into debate and discussion society, you are absolutely welcome to do so. Now, with that, I would conclude, and I would like to welcome you all to Campus Law Center again, and hope to see at least some of you become a part of the Debate and Discussion Society. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Moving on, we have the Differently Abled Students Committee and the presentation by the convener, Dr. Neha Aneja, please.
Good afternoon to all of you, and I welcome all you to CLC. So my committee is, which I am here to introduce, that is Committee for Differently Abled Students. I want to start with one famous quote of Atkinson, and what is that? One is not disabled, one is made disabled. So if you will think about it, what I'm trying to say, everyone can be, even the person with disability can be a very productive unit of the society. The only thing which is required, that is the equal opportunity and equal participation. And one of the big hurdle in that equal opportunity is the accessibility. Accessibility to all those opportunities, facilities which are available to other able-bodied students. So let me just first of all introduce you who are the members of this society. So members, I'm the convener, Neha, and there are, along with me, there are two other members, Dr. Rahul Kumar and Dr. Chola Raja. Let me just assure you that this committee is here is very much committed to provide friendly and supportive environment to the students with disability. We are here to ensure that there is accessibility to all kind of the opportunities, and there is equal opportunity for every kind of the activities in this educational institution. And along with that, let me first of all share with you the vision and the mission of this society. So as I just told you that we are here to ensure the rights, and we are here to protect the rights of the person with disabilities. So how far the rights of person with disabilities concerned, as everybody knows that in 2007, India signed and ratified the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Person with Disabilities. Thereafter, we enacted another new law here in India, that is Rights of Person with Disabilities. So what is the purpose of this society? To monitor the implementation of the legislative provisions to ensure the rights which has been guaranteed in your Constitution of India, in your Right to Person with Disability Act 2016, and every welfare policy which has been adopted by the government for the students with disability. Along with that, the major issue relating to the enforcement of the rights of person with disability is the unawareness. So we are here bound, we are here working on the creation of awareness among the teachers as well as students. Even the teachers are required to be sensitized about the rights of person with disabilities, not only the rights, in fact the issues as well. What are the issues relating to them which we need to deal, right? And along with that, equal educational opportunity, as I just mentioned earlier, we are here to provide them support system. We are here to ensure that there is no discrimination towards them, and the basic issue is the barrier-free environment in CLC, right? Along with that, the major issue which is here faced by the visually impaired student, that is the reading material, accessible reading material. So one of our purpose or the objective is here to ensure the visually impaired students are getting the accessible reading material. Along with that, we are here to help you in admission process and in your examination. And apart from that, this is our vision and mission. However, right now we do have online classes, but let me explain again, we are expecting to be there very soon, that we will be having face-to-face classes. And let me just tell you the facilities which are already available for the protection of the rights of the person with disability in your campus law center building. So how far infrastructure facilities in campus law center is concerned, let me tell you, there are ramps, railings in CLC building wheresoever it is required. We do have wheelchair for the needy students, and we are having accessible study material, accessible toilet as well for the person with for the students with disability. In this pandemic, as we know, we are having online classes. Earlier, I just told you we do have accessible infrastructure. Right now, I just want to ensure you don't worry, even if we are having online classes. Our campus law center, this society is here to ensure that, that there are accessible. There is no issue for the students with disability, how far the online classes are concerned. Apart from that, in any educational institution, the very important, which is part is what library. So don't worry how far the campus law center library is concerned. We have also taken care of your accessibility there. We are here providing the materials, accessible materials, readings, videos for the students with disability, specifically the visually impaired students. Along with that, we do have computers on ground floor, and I just want to inform you, in those out of those computers, two to three computers are here reserved specifically for the PWD students, so that they can easily get the access for the computers. Along with that, in your CLC, we are here providing the laptops, and in laptops, we are here taking care of what? Taking care of JAWS software also. Means we used to distribute the laptops along with the installation of the JAWS software. After completing education, definitely what is required, that is the placement, your employment. So don't worry about that. Also, the CLC committee, this committee, CLC itself, is here working on the part-time. We are trying at our level best to provide part-time and full-time placement to the students with disability in coordination with the Equal Opportunity Cell of Delhi University. Let me tell you, we do have one center level committee here in your campus law center. Along with that, for the protection of your rights, we do have a central level committee at the level of the Delhi University, which is named as the Equal Opportunity Cell. So you can go for your, first of all, definitely we will never let you face any issue. We will try at our level best. Along with that, if there is any issue, then that can be taken up by the Equal Opportunity Cell of Delhi University as well. Along with these facility, we are here, these things, we are here certain future plans also. And I really want to share with you that CLC is trying to always working for making the CLC, campus more and more accessible. And we are here trying to, get connect with the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. We are seeking support from there also. Along with that, at times the visually impaired, specifically for the visually impaired student, as when we do have classes, they face certain issues to understand certain practical aspects. So we always tried, we are also working to have the remedial coaching and scholarship for the weaker students. And this is when we are talking about equal opportunity, we are just not talking about the study material. We are not just talking about the study, because there are extracurriculum activities also. So we are also trying for the same as well. So that is also in our future plan. We are here going to arrange the cultural activities, sports event on various occasions by engaging with the various NGOs to get to work for specifically for the disabled children. Along with that, we are trying to get tie-ups with the various corporate sectors or the firms in line with the new CSR rules for getting support for specifically fund for the differently able students, specifically for the devices like which are here required for the visually impaired students. And with this, I just want to end up with one quote. Always remember, this is specifically for my students with disability. Always remember, and always with a positive note, that your disability does not hinder your ability is considered to be equal in your CLC. Don't worry, we are here going to be treated, you are here going to be treated equally. You will never be discriminated, and you will get every equal accessible opportunity for every kind of the activity in CLC. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on, we have the Legal Aid Committee presentation by the convener, Dr. Kshitij Kumar.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Respected Professor Raman Mittal, sir, Professor Alka, ma'am, and Professor Gunjan, ma'am, and my dear colleagues and newly, admitted students. As it has been mentioned in the first, you can say, phase of this very orientation program, that the aim of law is not only to have a lucrative career or to incentivize oneself, but a larger goal to look at whether the justice is being dispensed or not. So, in that way, just being logical, or you can say mechanical, would not suffice the need unless and until you have your eye upon the larger goals of the society, whether the society is inclusive enough to find out the solution within the legal system or not. So legal aid society is being aimed, or you can say it is being eyeing upon, to promote an inclusive legal system by having various activities in that very society, like awareness programs and the social outreach programs and many others. So it has a far-reaching goal of to extend legal help to vulnerable class of the people. So as I said, that everybody is not in a position in the society to reach out to the various mechanisms of law, and this may be a kind of impediment in finding out the right forum. And because of the procedural complexities, these vulnerable groups are always, facing some problems where they sometimes they are reluctant to go for it, and sometimes, because of a cost and other integers, they are not that much encouraged to find that solution. So next slide. Yeah. So the basic purpose of legal aid society is to enable those people who cannot afford legal representation the access to the court. And this has been done by a collaboration between Delhi Legal Services Authority, State Legal Services Authority, as well as District Legal Services Authority, to provide free legal counsel and services to all those who fall under Section 12 of the Legal Services Authority Act 1987, which enlisted those vulnerable groups who can be, provided these kind of services. Next slide. So this is the legal aid clinic, which has been, started or inaugurated by Justice, A.K. Sikri, Judge Supreme Court of India. And next slide. The role of this very legal aid clinic is to facilitate the legal counseling and legal advice. And in order to do that, it has been done by a professional lawyer, which has been appointed by the Central District Legal Services Authority, who usually sit on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And he provide that very, or she provide that very, legal advice along with the paralegal volunteers who are being deployed there to facilitate this very process. And while facilitating this very process, they learn many things, like you see, to draft applications in certain matters and to accompany the beneficiaries in their interaction with the officials. So these interactions always empower them to think that how the law could be effectuated in a meaningful way. Next slide. So this was the legal aid clinic, which I have just mentioned. Apart from that, to enlarge the participation of this very, legal aid, and to sensitize the people, we have started very recently Awaz, the blog of Legal Aid Society. And it is a kind of enabler to the students to find their route for expressing themselves in the form of blogs, as well as it also enables those students who learn from it, other students learn from it, and they can be updated regarding the most recent happenings. Next slide. So as you see here, the blog is dedicated to presenting itself as a primary source of information for all students, paralegal volunteers, and lawyers interested in learning about emerging and pertinent questions in the field of legal aid. So there was a very encouraging sign when we started. We find that, from January to June 2020, it has got or received 45 submissions from all across the country. So it has also been responsible in producing 2 newsletters of Legal Aid Society, which are very enriching. I mean, they are very, very, you can say, strong in content, as well as they are being, meticulously articulated by the dedicated team of this very Awaz, the blog. So this is a kind of new initiative which we have just taken. Next. So if you go by the composition of Legal Aid Society, it is being, structured in such a way where a patron-in-chief is Professor Dr. Raman Mittal, who is also professor in charge of CLC. Then it is being accompanied by teacher members, and then student conveners and paralegal volunteers that form the executive team also. And then the registered members, which is so enlarged that it includes like 1,100 students there. So as a faculty convener, I am there, Dr. Kshitij Kumar Singh, along with my colleagues, Dr. Narendra Kumar Bisnoi, Ms. Sneha Yadav, Mr. Bijoy Panikar, and Ms. Atma Yadav. Next. So this is the student executive body for 2021, and it is being headed by student convener Ms. Baresi and other, student co-conveners, because of the diversity of, activities which are being usually, conducted by this very Legal Aid Society. Because of that, we need various co-conveners to look into various aspects. Next. So this is a kind of, statistics, how, the students are being accommodated. So you may see here that in first year, the number is pretty high, because we just emphasize that we must target the first year students to come in a large proportion, and then second year, and lastly, the third year. Next. So if you see the, outcome of this very, Legal Aid Society, you will find that it has been highly involved in community outreach programs, which are of diverse nature. So they may be like legal awareness drives, as well as you can say community outreach programs in the form of Clean and Green March, legal awareness drive, and on fundamental duties. And along with, these kind of community outreach programs, Legal Aid Society is also eyeing upon empowering those people who cannot make through the admission process and all of that. So they really help it out. So there was a rescue drive also on New Delhi railway station, where various vulnerable group of society have been rescued. Children were rescued. And then there was a legal aid camp for the riot victims, which recently occurred, in Delhi riot. So legal aid and awareness for riot victims was also facilitated by, empowering them through the legal drafts and all that. Next. So apart from these various programs, Legal Aid Society always facilitates the institutional visits to enable the students to look into what is the process of law and how these institutions are, behaving, or they are being conducting various, things which they are being assigned with. So by being close to these institutional, processes, the students have a clear understanding that what are the potential impediments in the process and how different mechanisms could be evolved so that it could be better rooted. Next. Yeah. So these were the primary function, or you can say the primary role of the Legal Aid Society, which it performs. Apart from that, we were just, able to conduct various seminars also, so that we can trigger a large mass of people to think regarding these legal issues. So you can see here that one of the important event in the form of seminar was National Seminar on Gandhi on Duties, which was held on 30th January. Apart from that, we also grabbed the international dimension of legal aid or human rights through the international programs also. Apart from that, because of this very pandemic situation, we were not able to, conduct anything in person. So we have targeted it to do through the international webinars. And in these webinars, the catchy thing is that we were not restricted ourselves to the already defined, functions and the issues, but we have enlarged the scope of Legal Aid Society to take the issues which are more advanced and more, you can say, relevant in today's world, like copyright law and the feminist gaze. There was one webinar which was conducted to look into how women are being represented in IPR. The other thing was the graffiti and copyright, where many of the artists who are making graffitis, they are being a stakeholder, cannot find their, expression to the forum of intellectual property. So what were their concerns that has also been captured by this very society? Next. So these are the general rules which may be, discussed or elaborated in a different, discussion with you. So I'm not getting into that. Next. So this is also along with that. Next. So we are eyeing that the future, prospect, or you can say the future plan of our society is to increase the number of activities and initiatives which we have already taken, as well as to enrich the activities through a diversity, bringing diversity in the program, which we have already done that, and we are eyeing upon to do more and more. So, and train more students as paralegal volunteers, organize a wide range of talks and seminars to include the students in a very responsible, pragmatic, and dedicated society, towards dedicated society. And the basic emphasis, or the main emphasis which I try to bring in, is that during the pandemic period, the role of the paralegal volunteers and the performance of those paralegal volunteers is exemplary. So I must highlight that even in the COVID times, they reach out to the people in assisting them by distributing the ration cards and many other stuffs. So they were, keep on working even in that very phase. And if I may say that that was the phase which was more engaging for these students, so that would not be wrong. So in that way, this very society is, aiming at inculcating in every individual to understand law and to experience law, as I said, in such a manner. So there are certain social media presence where you can, if you visit our website, you will find we have Facebook page as well as Instagram page. We have a dedicated website also, lasclc.in. Apart from that, you can also reach out through emails also. So with this, I am just welcoming all the new entrants to CLC, and I hope that you will find it interesting by studying here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kshitij, for praising us on the Legal Aid Society, actually a society which makes students an asset. Now, I'll invite Dr. Harleen Kaur to appraise you about the working of Moot Court Society. Now, the greatest skill that law student possesses is actually advocacy, and Moot Court Society teaches you that. Dr. Harleen Kaur, please take over.
Thank you, Sneh. Very good afternoon to respected Professor in Charge, Professor Raman Mittal, senior faculty members, Dr. Alka Chawla, Dr. Gunjan Gupta, my colleagues and dear students. On behalf of Moot Court Society Campus Law Center, it's my great pleasure to introduce you all to the most vibrant society of Campus Law Center, which is committed to provide our budding lawyers a host of rich opportunities to learn, to grow, to discover who they are, and how can they make a difference in this legal profession. As you all are aware, that the exercise of mooting is one of the highlights of every law curriculum. It teaches students the skills which are required to analyze various legal problems. It gives exposure to the students to how to practice law at temples of justice. So if one wants to indulge into litigation after law school, moot courts are just like the icing on the cake. It's rightly said that mooting is an art of argument. And believe me, through Moot Court Society, we are really going to help you in acing this art. Now, let me take you to the virtual trip to the Moot Court Society by sharing this PowerPoint presentation. To begin with, the vision of Moot Court Society, the Moot Court Society of Campus Law Center lay emphasis on moot court competitions and trainings as mandatory academic practice to equip students with clinical knowledge for their future profession and to imbibe the mooting culture in the students. Next slide, please. To induct new students members in our society, every year our society organizes induction modes, that is a common induction mode and a fresher induction mode. So far, the common induction mood is concerned, which is also known as CIM. It is the internal mood competition between the students of all 3 academic years, where they compete with each other to secure the membership of the society for the successive year of respective session. The ideology behind the common induction mood is come one, come all, grab the golden chance. Then we have the FIM. Next slide, please. The fresher induction mood, which is basically being organized for first year students exclusively so that they can get a chance to secure the membership of the society by competing with each other. And once they qualify this induction mode, they become the member for consecutive 3 academic years. I would also like to tell you that so far, the procedure for induction is concerned. The CIM and FIM have a similar procedure to follow. A moot proposition is provided to the students, which is hypothetical case that they need to prepare from either the plaintiff or defendant side. On the day of induction, the aspiring candidates need to present the case before the bench that comprises of practicing advocates or jurists. The candidates are adjudged on the basis of memorials prepared by them and the arguments presented by them in addition to the court etiquettes. The minimum required marks secured both in memorials and oral arguments qualify the candidates to become the members of the Moot Court Society, and after becoming the member of the Moot Court Society, student becomes entitled to represent the college in various moot court competitions, both at a national and international level. Next slide, please. I would also like to draw your attention to one of the most celebrated event of Moot Court Society, that is KK Luthra Memorial Moot Court Competition. This competition is an international criminal moot competition where the budding law students from colleges all over the world participate. The competition is adjudicated by the most distinguished dignitaries in the field of law invited from all over the country. Next slide. From the past 17 years, the KK Luthra Moot Court Competition has witnessed great success. And in taking you to the 17th KK Luthra Moot Competition 2021, which was held this time virtually, wherein 68 teams were registered. Just a second, please get back to the slide where there is a KK Luthra Moot Competition. Previous slide, please. Yeah, thank you so much. The 17th KK Luthra Memorial Moot Competition 2021, which was held virtually recently, hosted 68 teams from various legal institutions, including NLUs and faculties of laws across the globe, with participation of 19 international teams. This event marked the presence of eminent dignitaries such as Honorable Mr. Justice Suryakant, Judge Supreme Court of India, Honorable Justices from Delhi High Court, Honorable Mr. Justice Naveen Chawla, Honorable Mr. Justice Anup Jairam Bambani, Honorable Mr. Justice Dalwant Singh, and other dignitaries, including Ms. Maneka Gandhi, former Union Minister. Next slide, please. The team from Tamil Nadu won this competition, and the team from Sastra Deemed University were adjudged as runner-ups. The best speaker was awarded to Isabel Jian GLE from National University of Singapore, and Jamia Millia Islamia won the best memorial award. Next slide, please. You can see the glimpses of KK Luthra competition 2021. Next slide, please. I would also like to inform you that CLC has always welcomed organizing various competitions through Campus Law Center, Moot Court Society, in collaboration with prestigious institutions. And one such competition we organized was in 2019, that was with the Competition Commission of India in association with Campus Law Center. This event marked the presence of eminent dignitaries, Honorable Mr. Justice Vipin Sanghi, Honorable Mr. Justice Siddharth Mridul, Mr. Mukund Thakkar, Mr. Krishan Venugopal, etc. And the Campus Law Center Faculty of Law, University of Delhi, was adjudged as winners of the competition. Next slide, please. You can see the glimpses of CCI Moot Court competition that was held. Next slide. Now, coming to the achievements. So far, the achievements are concerned, the list is very long, under the able guidance of our professor in charge, teacher members, student members, our students have always come up with the flying colors in various competitions. Talking about some achievements, our teams have awarded the silver category for mediation advocacy in International Mediation Singapore Competition 2020 at Singapore International Mediation Institute. Our teams have been the winner of Best Respondent Memorial at Victor International Moot 2020, Sri Lanka, qualified 18th Annual Oxford IPR Moot 2020. Based on written submissions, will now complete the oral rounds with 27 other top institutes from all around the world. Winners at Singapore Mediation Competition at Singapore International Mediation Institute 2019. Runner-ups at Bennett National Moot Competition 2020. Next slide, please. And in addition to that, I would also like to tell you that individually also, our students have bagged various positions such as Best Researcher, Best Mooter, Best Speaker at various competitions held. Next slide. Now, lastly, I strongly believe that the success of any society depends on how it is being taken care by. So me as a convener, along with my faculty member consisting of Dr. Anita Yadav, Ms. Rubina Grewal Nagra, Ms. Apanjot Kaur, Mr. Vijay V. Panikar, Mr. Haris Zamir, and Ms. Mehepara, along with our dedicated team of students. Please share the next slide. Headed by Ruchi Jaiswal and other student executive committee members, would really make sure that we nurture this society and take forward this vision of the society and record our contribution in making of the future stalwarts of the country. So I hope, thank you so much. And I really hope after watching this video, you must be thinking how to join this society. So very soon, we will be organizing an orientation program for this Moot Court Society, wherein we will be told about the functioning of the society. Student executive team will be introduced to you, and they will be organizing a demo moot court for you. And at the same time, you will be told about the procedure, how to acquire the membership of this particular society. So with these words, I would like to congratulate you all on being part of CLC, which is the most vibrant learning community. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harleen. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Ezekiel Zareen to talk about his society, that is Northeast Students Committee. Ezekiel, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Alka ma'am, Gunjan ma'am, and all my colleagues and dear students. I really don't have much to say, just a couple of slides, in fact, and just like in every college, in every center, in the 3 centers in Faculty of Law, we have the Northeast Cell, which is specifically meant to look into the welfare of the students coming from the Northeast, and just to understand a little bit what's the purpose of this society, or sorry, of this committee. Basically to help in creating a study-friendly atmosphere for the students from the Northeast. It's possible that many of just like it's true even in other cases, not necessarily students from the Northeast, that who may come from various remote areas, just like I myself. I come from one lost village in Meghalaya, and maybe you could feel a little bit out of place in Delhi. Okay, it's a big place, and maybe coming to the city for the first time. So, well, for the time being, you are there, yes, but when you shall finally come to the center, you will, of course, see the atmosphere, the study atmosphere that we have, and as part of that endeavor to help the students in general, and my task is in a way specifically to help if there's any need for the students from the Northeast. Sorry, can you come again to the previous slide? So to help to keep a check on any possible discrimination against students from Northeast, I have not heard of, I have not been reported of any such case. I'm sure that there will be no such thing, and nevertheless, if unfortunately, if there is any, right, then of course we will be taking care of that. So you can report to me or to my colleague Vikasa, who is also in the committee. As far as I'm aware, like all the teachers treat they treat all the students, including the students from the Northeast, equally. I have not seen that any student from the Northeast being treated unfairly. So I don't be apprehensive of that. Okay, coming from place with a different culture, with a different let's say habits. But well, we will all they will all understand you, and they will readily want to learn many things from you guys. So to help to facilitate that mutual integration of students from the Northeast with the students from other parts of India, we will organize activities. What we have done, at least the orientation we have done in the past. In fact, last year we wanted to organize a joint seminar with the 3 centers, but then because of the we had planned, and then we had to postpone because of the pandemic, as you may know. Well, these are some of the images that are from the previous orientation program. Oh, here you see the teachers from other centers, and then in the previous image also you could, here is Alka ma'am, who give a presentation on of course about the that was when we organized for specifically for the orientation of Northeast, how to write exams, which is very important, I think, for first year. And then just to say that as in Campus Law Center, and as well as in other centers, I'm sure that that the teachers are there, to help you. So what is important is that you have to be very open, you have to be very frank in approaching the teachers for any doubt, any problem, or maybe some teachers may in their teaching they may mix Hindi, and if you don't really understand, okay, I know that it's possible that students from the Northeast may not, just like what happened in my case, I never knew a single word of Hindi before I came to Delhi. So before I joined LLB in 2005. So, well, you could always mention, and it could be mentioned to any teacher if that is the case. And so, well, nothing much to say, as I said at the beginning, and I welcome you all. Hopefully, you will enjoy your life in CLC. So all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would invite Dr. Narendra Bishnoi to talk about NSS Society. Dr. Bishnoi.
Respected Professor in charge, Professor Aman Mittal, my dear colleagues, and all first year students. First of all, I welcome all of you on behalf of National Service Scheme Campus Law Center. Unlike MCS and LSS, which is new for all of you, I hope all of you already aware about NSS during your college days. But being a law student or having knowledge of statutory law, I can tell you, you can serve better for national services. And as far as the introductions to NSS are concerned, it is basically an Indian government-sponsored scheme, which is run by Department of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India. And this scheme was launched by the central government in 1969. And the main aim of this scheme was to develop student personality through community service. And the main objective, and we can say the motto of this NSS was "Not me, but you." And it reflects the essence of democratic livings, and it inculcates and upholds the need of selfless services. Basically, NSS is a student-run organizations, but in this committee, or we can say in this NSS society, the student and the teachers are work together for the community services. However, the scope of NSS is very wide, and a lot of extracurricular activities can be done by the students. But in nutshell, we can say the main object of or the list of the activities was to organize seminars, educational seminars and literary seminars, and to work for the environmental protections, and to organize various health camps, blood donation camps, and anything which a student thinks, because the area of NSS is quite wide. And as far as the durations of and the membership of this scheme are concerned, I want to tell you specifically, the students who are selected for NSS has to work 2 years continuously and to render community service at least 120 hours in a year. It means a total of 240 hours, and a certificate cannot be issued if the volunteer is not able to complete those requisite mandatory hours. This is a requirement specifically made by the ministry itself. And all the volunteers has to maintain their work in the diary provided by the institutions to the enrolled students. And any students, and how you will join, what are the formalities required, I want to tell you. Any student who want to join this NSS has to fill an enrollment form, which will be soon supplied by the institutions, or we will also upload it on college website also. Me and Dr. Suman Yadav is basically a program officers and the member of this committee. And for any doubts, you can contact us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure a lot of students would be encouraged after your talk to join a national service scheme. So thank you so much. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Ruchita Chakraborty to praise the students about the working of Placement Assistance Committee. Ma'am, over to you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here today. Of course, it's an online mode, but yeah. First of all, respected our professor in charge, Dr. Raman Mittal sir, my esteemed senior faculties, Dr. Alka Chawla ma'am, Dr. Gunjan Gupta ma'am, my esteemed colleagues and dear students. I'm very happy today to be able to talk to you regarding my committee, which is the Placement Assistance Council. We call it PAC in short, and it is, I must say, this is one of the most vibrant and active societies of the Campus Law Center. Like we all know, placement happens to be, for every course, for every college, every university, placement happens to be something which has, a lot of important aspects, as well as it's also something which is to do with, after we get to the education and our degrees are over, so what next? And obviously we all talk about the job perspectives, etc. So the Placement Assistance Council is precisely something which deals with the placement of the students. It's very, very important for law students specifically, because law is a professional course that is offered, and the Campus Law Center happens to be one of the most important, one of the vibrant organizations, law institutions across the country, prestigious institutions. And I'm sure all the new students who have been inducted to the Campus Law Center, you already are aware of the rich heritage that the Campus Law Center has in the legal field. So from that perspective, the Campus Law Center Placement Assistance Council happens to be it is aimed so that the students are better equipped. The students are, they get the opportunity, and they know the kind of future prospects, their career aspects, their aspirations better. And we at the PAC, we try to, introduce these kind of various career opportunities to our students. The previous slide, please. I've not begun with the presentation yet. Yeah. So about the Placement Assistance Council, well, first of all, I would like all my dear new students to know that the Placement Assistance Council is essentially a student-run body. It's a volunteer-based body where all the students who are inducted as part of the PAC, the Placement Assistance Council, we all work as a team, and under the supervision of the teacher members, and of course, our patron-in-chief, Dr. Raman Mittal sir, currently, who is the PIC of the Campus Law Center. We all work together, and our main responsibility, or something that we really look forward, the main activity of the Placement Assistance Council, is to facilitate the procedure of recruitment. Now, recruitment is only for the final year students. But however, even the first years and the second year students, we offer a lot of internship opportunities. And for all the new students, I'm sure since you have chosen law as your career option, you're aware how important it is to, be aware of how the legal practices go on. And internships happens to be a very, very important way, a very important method of understanding the law, its implementation, etc. So we get a lot of internship opportunities as well. Most of the internship opportunities are for the second year students. However, even final year students, many a times, big firms and all, they give internship opportunities, which often we have a lot of instances of the past, even the recent, even during the pandemic this last year also, that students have got a pre-placement offer, a PPO, through the long-term internship process. So yeah, these are very encouraging things for the new students. And what exactly we strive is, we always try to build networks with the CLC alumni. Now, at the beginning of the orientation program today, our dear Alka Chawla ma'am has already specified that we all know how our students, our ex-students, and our alumni are very, very well placed, both in the legal field as well as in the industry, in the legal firms and all. So we always try to get in touch with them. We have our own LinkedIn page, we have our own Facebook page, and then we try to get in touch with all these people, because networking happens to be a very, very important aspect, whereby we can get in touch with different people at the industry. And then we try to equip our current students in those lines and give them an understanding that how things work. Yeah, next slide, please. So as far as the objective of the PAC is concerned, we aim to create a framework, and in the framework, essentially, we have representatives from various organizations in the legal industry. And of course, most of the time, our student members. Now, PAC happens to be a small team, mostly, and everyone who is a member of PAC, every such member deals with one or the other internship or one or the other final interview processes. And the people who are enrolled for the interview, that is the interviewees, they are a separate group of people. But then the ones who are working at the background, who deal directly with the recruiters, who have direct interaction with them, and they come to know about the requirements, they deal with everything, are our students, members of the PAC. And we really encourage the recruiters to give us important details about the profile of their respective organizations, so that even students, they get an understanding that what exactly is their requirement. Now, since law has various facets, so there are various aspects. So students who are interested in a specific area of law, we try to provide such kind of opportunities to them, so that their orientation and their likelihood in terms of the legal fields also, they can match up with the kind of organization that they are applying for. So that is something which is very important for us. And at the same time, we try to evaluate the interest, the students' interest in the company, and then identify which are the companies that we would like to apply for or take up internships. So along with the regular lectures that we have, these kind of internship opportunities actually give the students an idea, the understanding to explore their livelihood, their interest in whichever subject area that they want to work. So this is another important aspect that PACs look into. Yeah, next slide, please. And the vision of PAC as a society is that we envision our students to glorify the crown of the Campus Law Center as a dazzling jewel of the legal domain in the country and abroad. I must mention here that we already have various dazzling jewels in the legal domain, both in the practicing field as well as in the industry, in the corporates, in the legal fields. And we look forward, we try to orient our students to take up the path that has already been set by our very rich alumni. So this is something that we really, again, look forward to. In addition to all these things, we also organize a number of various, interactions with various teachers. We try to organize different events, especially in the given year, because we have been operating in the online mode for quite some time. So we have tried to create platforms, online platforms, where students have an opportunity to directly interact with the industry specialists. So there are senior partners from the legal firms, there are senior advocates of the practicing advocates at the High Court, Supreme Court level, who come interact with students. Some of our alumni who have been, who have taken up courses in the abroad as well, in terms of higher studies, etc. So what kind of work profile can be expected if you are completing some studies in the abroad and other countries? So all these different kind of opportunities we directly bring to you through direct interaction with the people who are there, who have already been parts of our alumni. So this is again something that we look forward to. Next slide, please. Now, as far as the composition of the PAC, Placement Assistance Council Campus Law Center is concerned, we have a number of faculties, and we also have some students who are intrinsically into the everyday working of PAC. And because PAC happens to work a lot at the background, so we teachers as well as the students are very, very actively involved in everything. So the faculty convener of PAC happens to be me, Ruchita Chakraborty, and I have very enthusiastic and cooperative faculty members, Dr. Rohit Munka, Ms. Rubina Nagra, and Ms. Mehbara Haq. So we all work together in coordination so that we can probably give the best opportunity available to our students. Next slide, please. Very, very important are the student members of PAC, because at the beginning of my presentation, I already mentioned to you that PAC happens to be a student-run body. So it's a volunteer-based body. The students who are interested to join PAC, they normally be inducted in the first years. I will just come out with the process that how we do it. But the members happen to be our assets. So the student members, we have, this is the list of the student members. The convener this time, the conveners always are from the final year. So Himanshu Chandel and Dev Jain are the two of the student conveners of PAC for this year. Dhriti Mehta happens to be the student co-convener. We have a number of senior executive members. The senior executive members are also from the third year. We have second year members who happen to be the executive members of PAC, because as of now, we have just, the first years have just been inducted. So I look forward to have first year executive members in the team as well. Yeah, the next slide, please. This is, I'm not iterating all of them, but you can see some of the big names who on regular basis offer us recruitment opportunities as well as internship opportunities for our students. While at the onset, I wouldn't say that I mean, it does look lucrative, but please understand that it also has a lot of struggle that goes behind. You have to build, I mean, we all work together towards building, a better profile for our students so that these recruitments and internships, they continue to come. And yes, we do have a lot of success stories behind all these recruitment and internships. Some of the best firms, some of the best corporates, they come to the Campus Law Center, they hire our students, and yes, we do give a lot of opportunity. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So now this is something that happens to be very, very, an important event. In the year 2019, we happened to have organized a placement week, something that, most of the, private universities offer, but we happen to have that a week-long, program, which was organized for the purpose of when various recruiters had come on campus to hire and recruit our students. The previous slide, please. So this is the glimpse of the ceremony. It happened to be a very, very successful program. A lot of students were inducted through, both in terms of final recruitment as well as internship opportunities. So the placement week was a real success. We hope that in the coming year, in 2020, unfortunately, because of this COVID-19 pandemic going on, we organized all our interviews either for internship or for final placements. We are still doing a lot of final placements going on at the present time, but everything is happening in the online mode. But yes, as soon as we reach back to the campus, I hope in the year 2021, we again have an event of the placement week where we can have big firms and big corporates coming to campus to hire our students. So that is something that we again look forward to. Next slide, please. Now, while I have been introducing to you the activities of PAC, although it was obviously in a very summarized way, something that might come to your mind is how do we induct students, that is the new students, the first year students, to the Placement Assistance Council. Now, I must mention this at the onset, that all the students are inducted into the Placement Assistance Council in the first year itself. So once the first years join the campus, which happens to be, this time it happens to be now in January, we will be inducting students who are interested to work in PAC, to work with us as members. So the PAC members would be inducted in the first years. They continue to be members for the next 3 years. And as and when of course, it is, we do not allow, or we do not let, we do not open a membership for PAC for the second years and third year students. So only the first year students become members and they continue for the next 3 years. How do we do it? It's an important thing. I just would give you a glimpse of the way that we would induct. So at first, we would be conducting a program with the new students, of course, in the online mode very recently, whereby we will be giving you more details about the kind of work that we do, the way that we are going to induct you, etc. We will ask for your CVs so that you are able to first state what are your aspirations, why do you want to join PAC, etc. Once that is done, we will be asking you for your CVs. So the first step would be the CV shortlisting process, followed by the CV shortlisting of the PAC of the prospective PAC members. What we do is we have an interview round. Interview is, at the first instance, is taken as a one-to-one basis, which is an interaction kind of a thing with the new students. And on the other hand, we have our PAC team, the executive and the senior executive members who would be interacting with the students. So that would be the first round. And the shortlisted candidate finally has a one-to-one interaction with the teacher convener and teacher members. And after screening through all these 3 levels, we have our team, the executive members who would want to become PAC members. So yes, we will be leaving out, further details. We'll be letting you know how to, go about all these things. We'll put official notices regarding this in the coming weeks. As of now, I would be ending my conversation with you here. These are our contact details. And as we get to you with further details, we'll be putting everything else in the notice. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving such relevant information to the students. Thank you. Now we move on to the society, which is going to deal with a topic which is extremely sensitive and important for all of us. We move on to the society, which is Prevention of Sexual Harassment and Gender Sensitization Committee. I'd like Dr. Stanzing Jostak to take over. Sir?
Okay. Am I audible, Sneha?
Yes, sir. Audible.
Okay. Thank you. Respected Professor in Charge, Professor Dr. Raman Mittal, sir, Professor Dr. Alka Chawla, Professor Gunjan Gupta, my esteemed colleagues, and my dear students, Happy New Year, and welcome to the Campus Law Center, and welcome to a brave new world, because we have overcome this pandemic, and welcome to a brave new world. And so the Gender Sensitization Committee, as the convener, had some important work. I've been, in her absentia, I'll be, discussing about this committee. And just to throw a bit of background as to the broader, legislative background to this particular, committee, is the University Grants Commission Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal of Sexual Harassment of Women Employees and Students in Higher Educational Institutions Regulations 2015, read with Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act. So even though the larger umbrella or the ambit or the canopy happens to be women, but after the important judgments of Delhi High Court, including the Nas judgments, followed by Suresh Kaushal and then Navtej Singh, Johar's case, then even we can include other genders as well. After all, the the nexus between the law and the objective that it seeks, there's a close nexus, and that is to prevent sexual harassment of and to prevent and prohibit gender biased kind of activities within the higher educational institutions. And basically, many of us and many of you coming from different parts of the country, and even I was a student of the same center from 2015 5 to 8, and so we come with a sense of in the pursuit of education, and no doubt we also enjoy the lively college environment, interaction and learning from our esteemed teachers, and also getting good information from the library and from our friends equally. And so in that sense, we at Campus Law Center, the basic aims and objectives of this committee is that the vision or mission, you can call it, is that we are extremely alert to matters pertaining to any kind of harassment and gender sensitivity. So it can include something like, if I have to give you an example, like if somebody is wearing a very a boy who is wearing a very colorful or something like a pink shirt. So and there may be a propensity that people will make a remark that he's a gay, or he's a little bit inclined towards this kind of thing, or even on the basis of body language also people can kind of attribute certain kind of gender sensitive this thing. He talks like a girl or something like that, so these are not very uncommon, and we are very sensitive and extremely alert to matters pertaining to any kind of harassment and gender sensitivity. And in that regard, the society exists to deal with the complaints relating to gender discrimination. And that can even range from, let's say, for example, being a CR of the class, or being a member of a particular group, let's say. So even that can also constitute, if you're being discriminated on the basis of your gender, that can be a point where you can, come to us and, seek relevant this thing. And other aims and objectives of the society is also, organizing various activities, including seminars and, what you call the discussions, and also, various other art forms, also paintings, and, what you call nutak, this thing, dramas, etc. So that, people are being made aware and, educate the people in and around the campus as well. And as I've mentioned already, it is basically the committee exists to sensitize the students coming from different cultural backgrounds, and to, in a way, how to make the learning experience more, conducive by avoiding unnecessary kind of complaints, etc. So we are there to help them, the students, have very amicable and very conducive atmosphere in the campus, and, leveraging, to the optimum, equality, sensitivity towards other sex, and promoting a sense of fraternity among the students as well as the faculties, so that, there can be a lovely learning environment. Next slide, please. Now, the legacy of the institute that you are joining is very rich, and in the specifically from the point of view of gender justice. We had the late Professor Lotika Sarkar, who was in fact one of the torch bearer of gender justice. And she taught law at Campus Law Center from 1950 to 1983 for more than three decades almost. And she also played a very central role in several, path-breaking and crucial legislations for gender justice and empowerment of women during 1975 to 2005. And as many of the aspiring law students will be studying the interventions that she made in the course of your criminal law paper, and maybe constitutional and other disciplines. And now, as you know that, Professor Lotika Sarkar was the first women teacher of, the law at the Faculty of Law at the University of Delhi, and she mainly taught criminal law. And she was also a mainstay of the Indian Law Institute during the early 1980s and 90s, to introduce a bit. And the remarkable thing about her was that in 1980, along with Dr. Veena Mazumdar, Lotika Di, as she was popularly used to be called as, she founded the Center for Women's Development Studies. And along with the three professors of law from Delhi University, Professor Upendra Bakshi, Professor Raghunath Kelkar, and Professor Vasudha Dagambar, Lotika Di wrote the historic open letter to the Chief Justice of India in 1979, challenging the judgment of the, apex court on the Mathura rape case. So in a way, Lotika Di was a conscience keeper, not only of the policymakers and legal fraternity, but also of women's studies scholars and women's movement activists. And the most, if we are to pay tribute to her for her rich legacy, which she left in the Campus Law Center, then it is to proactively pursue the mission she started, with her team in 1980 to fight against rape and various forms of structural and systematic violence against women, and to strive for social justice, that is distributive justice, gender justice. And if you look at the resurgence of activism against sexual violence and feminist debate around Justice Verma Commission's report, as well as Criminal Law Amendment Ordinance 2013, it constantly reminds us of pioneering work of Lotika Di in terms of creating a strong band of committed and legally aware, students and lawyers and feminists who are following her, footsteps. So in that sense, let us, salute, Lotika Di the torch bearer of gender justice by continuing her, heroic, legacy. And it just remind me of one, couplet in Urdu that, and I'll just render it. There is मरने वाले मरते हैं लेकिन वो फना नहीं होते हैं, मरने वाले मरते हैं लेकिन वो फना नहीं होते हैं, हकीकत में वो कभी हमसे जुदा नहीं होते हैं, हकीकत में वो कभी हमसे जुदा नहीं होते हैं, मरने वाले की जबीं रोशन है इस मजलूमात में, मरने वालों की जबीं रोशन है इस मजलूमात में, जिस तरह तारे चमकते हैं अंधेरी रात में. So that is how we can, the best tribute that we can put is that. Now, some slides have been skipped, but I think it pertinent to mention here that, law schools in this scenario have the important obligation to generate awareness of the, gender bias operating in the society, and it begins by observing the same within the learning institution. And now, as far as the redressal mechanism is concerned, anyone who is aggrieved, of any gender biased remarks or comments, etc., or otherwise also, then you can approach directly the faculty convener and other members. And you can also send us a mail on these, the mail that we'll share. And also, you can also put a complaint in the complaint box, which is at the seminar hall. And utmost confidentiality in regard to your complaints will be maintained. So rest assured, and we are there for you. And the committee convener is my senior colleague, Dr. Seema Singh, and others are my esteemed colleague, Dr. Vandana Mahalwar, and myself, Dr. Tenzin Shostak. And we have two, student volunteers as of now, Kajal Sonkar and Mr. Vijay Pujari, right? So welcome you once again. And I'll just, end up with another couplet from Iqbal. And that is regarding the quest for knowledge, what he calls Talib-e-Ilm. That is, Talib-e-Ilm means student. So, खुदा तुझे किसी तूफान से आशना कर दे, खुदा तुझे किसी तूफान से आशना कर दे, कि तेरे बहर की मौजू में इस्तराब नहीं, कि तेरे बहर की मौजू में इस्तराब नहीं, तुझे किताब से मुमकिन नहीं फराक की तू, तुझे किताब से मुमकिन नहीं फराक की तू, किताब ख्वाह है मगर साहिब किताब नहीं. So may God, bring you acquainted with some storm. Storm means anything which challenges your thinking, your open-mindedness. Not below in your sea break in form, and never from the books can you be weaned, which you declaim but not comprehend. That means apart from literal interpretation in law, there is a implied meaning to law as well. So with this, I conclude, and I hope and pray that your studyship and scholarship at Campus Law Center proves to be a life-changing experience in a good way. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. We really enjoyed your poetry. Now, last but not the least, let's move on to the committee, which is Students' Union and Sports Advisory Committee. I would request Mr. Akashdeep Nagal to inform the students about the working of this committee. Sir?
Thank you, Sneh ma'am. Good afternoon to one and all present here with us today. Respected Professor in charge, sir, Professor Dr. Raman Mittal, Professor Alka Chawla ma'am, Professor Gunjan Gupta ma'am, all my colleagues and dear students. I once again welcome you to this orientation program of 2021, and a very warm welcome to University of Delhi and especially to the Campus Law Center. I would now like to introduce the Union and Sports Advisory Committee to you. Next slide, please. So all these are the committee members. I, Akashdeep Nagal, is the convener of this committee. Along with me, Mr. Ezekiel Zareen is the sports advisor of this committee. Dr. Rohit Bunka, Mr. Jayaprakash Meena, and Ms. Sneh Yadav is also the member of this committee. Next slide, please. Now it is important to know how the Students' Union is formed. It is formed through the process of democratic election, where the electoral college consists of the students of the campus law center. Any students can contest the election for a single post by fulfilling the eligibility criteria. And each student has one vote, and the winner is declared by the highest number of votes for each post. The Students' Union consists of the president, vice president, general secretary, joint secretary, and the 2 central councillors. And all these are also the member of this committee. Next slide, please. Now, how this committee works? Basically, it is a students focused committee. Committee supervise all the activities of Students' Union. Any activity which the students would like to conduct, the Students' Union must require the prior approval from the committee and also from the professor in charge of the campus law center. The committee ensures that the funds of the Students' Union must be utilized for the best of the students for their academic enhancement and the sports activities. Any kind of sports activity requires the prior approval from the sports advisor and other committee members, and at last from the professor in charge of the campus law center. We organize various events like seminars and the sports events by involving the students. Now you can see the various slides in which in the last year, the Students' Union has committed various programs. This is the one of the picture from the legal conclave conducted by the Students' Union in last year, where Justice KG Balakrishnan was the chief guest. Next slide, please. Here you can see the blood donation camp, which is organized by the Students' Union. Next slide. Here you can see Srimati Meera Kumar is the chief guest in one of the program conducted by the Students' Union. Next slide, please. Here you can see the environmentalist, Mr. MC Mehta. Here he is the guest in one of the programs conducted by the Students' Union. Just next slide. You can see Shilpi Chidambaram has also been invited to this faculty last year only, on 28th and 29th Feb. Here is the poster for the Khel Utsav 2020, the students' sports activities organized by the Students' Union. And this is all from the Union and Sports Advisory Committee. We welcome you all once again, and thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Alka Chawla, Dr. Gunjan Gupta, and all the faculty members who made the presentations, and also to the faculty members who attended this, and above all to the students. Thank you so much for attending this orientation program. With this, the orientation program comes to an end, which was actually a 2-day event. Students, welcome to this faculty. Enjoy your time. Thank you so much. Take care.